Hello Animorphs fans, we're here to do the Cycle 7 review. That includes books 31 to 35, including Visser. Let's talk about the overall plot here. This is a bit bitty. This stuff, in previous cycles, I think there's been more of a flow to it. We're certainly well into the depths of the ghost-written material now. All of these, with the exception of the Separation and the Visser, were ghost-written. Okay? So, conspiracy. The plot there is largely based around Tom, Jake and Tom, the lengths Jake will go to, the big decisions that he'll make to achieve his goals. The Separation is... the illusion is... The prophecy, we get a new faction. The Hawkbajir resistance is revitalised up on yonder planet. And we also get to see some conclusion to some of the loose ends from the Visser Chronicles, which I found terribly fascinating. The proposal is probably actually the most impactful one here. And you might be a bit shocked about that, but it deals large... The main plot is irrelevant. That's filler. But the subplot with Marco's change in priority is a major turning point for the series. So I think people underestimate that one. And then Visser, it's very grandiose, but it has no real payoff. So it just adds a lot of lore, essentially, a lot of background, which is terribly useful, don't get me wrong, but nothing really comes of it. Okay. So that's the basic plot out the way. If you want more details on the plots, go watch those individual review videos for these books. Let's get the easy stuff out the way first. Which is the worst book? Without doubt, The Illusion. Got a 2 out of 10. Complete waste of a book. Not a popular opinion, I have found. I already knew it was quite a popular book, but if you want to see why I don't like it so much, go watch the video. Review 33, The Illusion. It was just back to front, a complete disaster. Best book. Now this was difficult for me because it's between the Conspiracy and the Prophecy. Both of them scored high 9 out of 10. I remember I compared this one to Warning, number 16, The Warning, and how good it was. And this one I also gave a high 9. I went back and checked. Now, which one do I prefer the most? It's very difficult because... That's my fiance calling me, of course. These books are pretty even, and I spent 5 minutes just thinking which one's better and why. Let's consider it. Which one's more impactful on the series overall? I would say 31. The stuff with Jake resorting to torturing Chapman and using Axe as his beta. And I'm not talking about the modern usage of the word, I'm talking in terms of like a wolf pack beta. So you've got Alpha and then you've got Beta, who does all the dirty work of the Alpha. Usually that job would fall to Rachel, but she's much more impulsive than Axe, who's more restrained and is more controllable, which Jake is taking advantage of. And that's seen pretty solidly in the Conspiracy. So that's the positive for that one. The positive for this one is I think it has some great moments, and it deals a lot with the loose ends of the Visser Chronicles, which I really liked, and I liked seeing that. The big problem is, although I wouldn't call it filler, it's very close to being filler. Very close. So it's less impactful. So I'm erring on the side of this one as the best book in the run, The Conspiracy. Right then. Best cover, worst cover. Best cover, I've decided, was The Prophecy, so it does win that competition. I think the Midmorphs actually look quite reasonable, and it's nice to see a Visser on one of the main series covers. Worst cover, I mean, considering the Conspiracy is just... We've seen Bird of Prey morphs before, so it's nothing new. But you know what? It's the Separation. It's just look at that monstrosity. Even the book itself is a joke, but even the cover's a joke, really. It's a bit... I mean, it's no offence to David Mattingly, but a starfish, you're never going to get the most awe-inspiring transformation on the start of that one. And I don't think Rachel's smug smile really helps the matter, especially considering how the actual book went. Disappointing. Let's talk about character development. I should have done this after plot, but, well, this is just how the video goes, I suppose. Character development. Let's go through each character. Jake. A lot of character development. By far, no, actually, probably the second most character development out of all the characters here. Especially in book 31, where he very much took on the Marco role from book 30, where he had to take a step back and let other people make decisions for him. But we also learnt a lot about how far he's willing to go to get what he wants. The torturing Chapman bit, for example, making Axe do the torturing was quite impressive. You know the way I mean. But bits in the proposal where he tells Cassie to shut up was an amazing moment, and that's his priority. Her prioritizing has always been pretty awful. For him to just jump in there and prioritize in her place was brilliant. His decisions are becoming quicker. It's been quicker than it's ever been before, I've noticed in this cycle. He will instantly jump in and dish out orders. Jake's development is coming along very nicely. He really is becoming a leader at this point, and it took him this book to, I think, make that another one of those big steps, to have that utter failure that he did in that book. He was a pretty awful leader in that book, but he needed that to go to the next level. Rachel, negative development. She didn't really get much development in these books. She wasn't really in that one at all. And in this one, her character was reduced to nice Rachel and mean Rachel, and that's all that Rachel is. So she actually has negative character development in this cycle, which is very, very worrying. Tobias, nothing really. I mean, there's that whole torture scene in The Illusion, but what do we learn about Tobias's character from that? Tell me. I'm open to suggestions. We saw a lot of stuff from his past that we already knew. And that was it. We saw stuff in the past that we already knew. So no real character development as far as I'm concerned. Cassie. Most of her development... Did she develop more than that book? No. Again, there wasn't much character development here. I think the biggest part was in the proposal, where she had that complete failure of prioritization. But we've sort of seen that before. It was just taken to an extreme degree in this one, so I wouldn't really call that character development, so not really much new on the Cassie side of things. Axe. He's developed a bit, as I mentioned earlier. He's sort of become Jake's beta. He'll just do what Jake says, and he's much more restrained and restricted to his duty, which he sees as coming from Jake. So he's very much falling into that role now, which is more so than we've seen before. So we're seeing how Axe is drifting into that solid role, because for a while he's sort of been there, here, there and everywhere, but now he's finding that place. So he's had a bit of character development, but by far the most character development has come for Marco, and it's thanks to the proposal, which people say is filler. How silly they are. Even one of the Reddit moderators, iBid, he says that it's filler, and I say to you, sir, I challenge you to an Annie duel slap. Yeah, the character development that he gets from these two books combined is pretty stellar, really. Because since book 5, his priority has been his mother. No longer after these two books. Because in this one, it's largely about him accepting that Peter has to move on, that he's not re-killing his mother by getting with this Nora character. He has to move on to accept things as they are. And to be fair, Cassie helped a lot with that decision in the end. But then he's had the double whammy of coming to that realization and then actually seeing his mother and essentially saying it to her face, my priority is no longer with you, saving you. You are no longer the priority. So massive development for Marco there. How he fills this vacuum now is going to be pretty important to me, because that priority's gone. His new priority is the war. It's finally here, ladies and gentlemen. The priority of Marco is just win this war. Thanks to these two books. So good stuff. I like it. Couple more bits. First, well, best and worst bits, really. So what's the worst bit in all these books? I had to think. And it came down to two choices, and they're both from The Illusion. The runner-up is Taylor being interrogated, despite the fact that she's the one meant to be interrogated. But the winner is that moment where Jake smashes in the window of the sharing building and Tobias sneaks in and then Axe is there in his Andalite body. What a stupid fucking moment. What the fuck was happening? On the floor again. Doesn't exist anymore. It's gone bye-bye. Okay. So, yeah, that was the worst bit. Best bit from the proposal, that moment where William Roger Tennant is being beaten up by Marco. Cassie's like, oh, Jake, you don't understand. He's been going through a lot. Oh, Marco, what's wrong? Shut up, Cassie. Know your fucking priorities. I'm in charge here. Marco, sort your shit out. Brilliant moment. And one of my favourites in the... Just for that moment, you get to go up there. I know you're only a 6 out of 10 overall, but just for that moment, you get to go on the upper shelf. You're down there and you what's that thing on the floor? Oh, it's the illusion. Disgusting. That's how my shells have ended up now, and you're just going to have to deal with it like that. So yeah, that's... oh no, there's one more thing. The scores. Right. Most cycles have sort of floated around the 8 mark. There's been higher 8s, and the last cycle dipped into the 7s. How did this cycle do? If you include Visser, which was an 8 out of 10, the score comes to 6.3, which is a whew, basically, I think it's like more than a point step down from the last cycle. So the quality is just gone poof, unfortunately. If you take Visser out and you just take the main series books into consideration, it's a solid 6. So yeah, the quality has seen a dip, and it's not surprising because we're now into the 30s, and this is where the road's getting a bit rougher, so I'm not expecting the score to go up anytime soon. But that was cycle 7. It's had its ups, but it's also had a few downs, I'll be honest. But you know, still going strong, still a solid 6 out of 10 overall for this cycle, so I'm not crying yet. Maybe once we've read the next book, which is The Mutation, number 36. Oh, I might be surprised. This might be a great book, but the reputation precedes it, unfortunately. That's the next book. Oh, that actually looks a lot better, rather than the thing that was there before. I hope. Right, so thank you very much for watching. Tune in tomorrow, assuming this video goes up on Friday, for The Mutation review. I'll see you then. Ta-ra!